Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric on our continuing series, NUON again, where when I feel like it, I put up a video on the NUON DVD player and a game. And obviously, if you can't tell already, we're playing Tempest 3000 today, which is a NUON exclusive. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we have a Patreon link down below as well. But I will say this right off the top. Tempest 3000 is enough of a reason to buy a NUON if it comes with a controller and it's not too expensive. This game is spectacular. Obviously there's nothing quite like Tempest. It has its own unique vibe and flair. But the visual look of this game alone means I will never sell my NUON DVD player. Now, is there a second game that I think is worth it on NUON? I'll have to wait for videos to come out, but I'll probably say it's shaky at best. But this game, from start to finish, is just so much fun, and it is Jeff Minter through and through. Obviously, there was the original Tempest, and Tempest 2000, which is considered one of the best games on the Atari Jaguar. And because the NUON is, in essence, Atari Jaguar II, a lot of the same engineers made it, there's a huge amount of shared DNA between Tempest 2000 and 3000, and the Atari Jaguar and the NUON. But right off the top, we have to talk about just how good this game looks. The visual flair, the pastel colors, all of these faux vector graphics, they just look incredible on the NUON. And the NUON has a very soft video signal, even over Component, which I'm using now. Every game I capture is a little bit blurry and soft. But Tempest 3000 and its visual stylings actually play super well into that soft image because this is a soft looking game. All of those lines seem to have a little bit of softness, almost like a texture to them. They don't feel as hard of a line as you would think they would. And because of that, with the NUON hardware, it's like a match made in heaven. And of course, the NUON does have a visual light machine developed by Jeff Minter as well. And this is basically a showcase of that technology with a game built over top of it. But as far as the mechanics are concerned, it is simple to pick up and extremely hard to master. You have enemies coming towards you, and you can move on the outside edge of whatever the playfield is. You'll see there that one almost looked like the number 8 without a line going through the middle, and as we get to this next one, a minor spike, it basically just looks like, I don't know, like a cross symbol for lack of a better term. But the way your ship moves around is so important. Now granted, even with a NUON controller, this game was meant more for a spinner, but there was no official spinner release for the NUON. There's been some aftermarket ones made, but I would say the controls with a D-pad are perfectly acceptable, and if you end up dead, it's because you made a mistake, not because the game fought you. But it's just a sight to behold, and this is my favorite type of video to make, one that is so interesting from start to finish. I don't have to make any cuts. I'm just showing you Tempest 3000 as you would experience it if you owned a NUON and played it, because I know like 99% of people watching this video will not have a NUON, so this might be the first time they've seen it in motion. That's how good this game is. I don't have to cut it to make it interesting. It is just always interesting. And I particularly love the graphical stylings that when you blow up those ships there, they almost break apart into that faux vector, and you get all these fireworks along the edge. All of those reds, the oranges, the greens, the pinks, those are colors that in my artistic practice I really enjoy using. So this game has a colorway that is basically made for me, and I will say that this game is just one of the best looking games I've ever played. It's so fun to find something like that on a system like the NUON. It's not where you would expect to say this is one of the most visually arresting games I've ever played. I would probably compare it to Rez on the Dreamcast in that super stylistic look. But it isn't just style. There is so much substance here as well. But the one thing I love more than anything about Tempest 3000 is the soundtrack is amazing. So go ahead and listen for like 35-45 seconds, and I'll come back and tell you more about why everyone missed out on this incredible game, because basically nobody owned a NUON. But enjoy. The soundtrack is just perfect, that techno beat with these flashing lights and those pink and purple pastel neons coming down the playfield. It just goes to become a part in a sum that is absolutely perfect. Now, if there was one criticism I would level against Tempest, and it's not so much a criticism as it is an observation, is that at least for the first 10 to 15 levels, this game is not hard whatsoever. But even as we transition into this other level here, these cotton candy pink and blues, it's just such an amazing thing to look at. I can't get enough of it, and I love how each individual playfield is slightly different. And you will see here in a moment, I am going to get a power up, and I'm going to get auto shooting, which means so long as I hold down the shoot button, my ship will shoot the entire time. So if you rock back and forth and basically circle the playfield, you're going to be able to take out almost every single opponent you have coming. But you do have that electrical impulse charge shot as well, so if any of those opponents get to the outer ring where you are, you can blow that off and basically save yourself like I did right there. This game gives you a lot of opportunities to save yourself if you get into trouble, but if you run out of that electrical impulse attack and those enemies start coming closer to the top, you're going to find that you're going to have a very bad time very quickly. And now that we're on to stage 10 here, Flatline, I love how each stage has its own thing going on. This almost feels like a piano and you're running back and forth up and down the keys. And you'll see there that I finally did take my first death because I was a little bit too liberal with trying to run back and forth. You really need to identify where the enemies are coming from and take a look at how you want to play the board, because in between the two lines is the only place your ship is shooting, and there is a slight pause in the controls between each different quadrant, so you don't want to skip by it. You need to be good on that D-pad, but once you do get the touch and feel of it, it's almost going to become second nature, because you can see here now that I did take that first death, I've got that auto shooting, and just rocking back and forth is doing everything. And I love this score chaining mechanics, how those scores are just coming into the screen in that faux vector. You're getting the words nice and yes just popping up. This game is constantly assaulting your eyes, but it's assaulting them in the best way possible. Even the score up there, 49,000 or 50,000 now, I love the color of it and that slight transparency. You can see the different things going on in the background, and sometimes the game just becomes absolutely a flashing mess in a good way, and that's why I put the flashing light warning at the beginning of the video. This is an assault of the senses. Gameplay wise, it's addictive, it's fast paced, and the mechanics work perfectly. Audio wise, the soundtrack is spectacular. The tempo, the beats, that techno sort of vibe just marry perfectly to my favorite part of the game, and that has got to be the image. I love these colors, but I am prone to liking these colors because in my practice outside of this YouTube channel, they are generally the colors that I would use for titling and other sort of mise-en-scène things in the background of any particular scene I was shooting. You may think these colors look garish and you hate them. That is subjective, but I could totally understand someone might say, this is too bright, it's too vibrant, there's too much stuff going on. This is like a bullet hell game without the bullet hell portion of it. There's so many things going on screen at once. It feels like playing a cave shmup, except it's not anything like that mechanically. But this is, I would hate to admit it because I didn't really want to love the NUON. Tempest 3000 is a reason to buy a NUON if you can find the controller. Do not try to play this with a DVD remote even though the game says you can, because trust me, you won't make it past level 2. That DVD remote only allows one input at once, so you can either move or shoot. You can't do both at the same time, and because it's using a crappy IR sensor, it's going to be laggy as sin. But with a controller like I'm playing right here, this is just gaming perfection. I've always enjoyed Tempest 2000, never had a chance to play Tempest 3000 until I did this series on the NUON, and now I'm going to definitely have to find a copy and buy a controller for my NUON, and that makes me so angry to say because it is not going to be cheap. But leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think. Have you ever seen Tempest 3000 in motion? Have you ever played it? You'll see there I finally took that game over, and I love how that game over screen comes around as well. But yeah, it's just an amazing game, and since there's so few games on the NUON, it is really nice to have a game that isn't just good for the NUON, it's just a good game in and of itself. And you'll see here, I was able to get to that high score screen and we get all these fireworks. But yeah, that's Tempest 3000. I would give this a 10 out of 10 as far as fun's concerned, and I would give it a 15 out of 10 for the visual flair. Sure, that'll be back with another NUON video when I feel like, and I'll have videos for the week as well, but I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.